Self-worth, being good enough, believing that you are worthy of love, of belonging, of joy, of a happy life, of success, of a deep connected relationship, shit, a relationship at all. Believing that you are good enough, whatever sits in your story of self-worth, of being good enough. Today, we're going to address this and what is a common issue pulling the strings of your self worth. Be sure to stick around till the end where I'm going to lay out not only how to build self worth, but how to believe that you are enough, including an analogy that works every time. But first, hey legend, I'm Mike Campbell. I am the anti-nice guy men's coach. I'm the founder of the Everyday Legends Academy, and I support everyday men, in particular nice guys, in building self-worth, self-respect, and a deep sense of security so that you can kill your nice guy and get so much more from your life, from love, and from the everyday. So that you can become a solid, secure, good man and drop all the conditional kindness. Be sure to thumbs up this video for more of these. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay updated whenever we drop new content. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button to join and follow along and gain access to new videos and exclusive offers when we share them. All right, let's hit today's video. Self-worth. Believing that you deserve what you want in life. Now, those words might speak directly to you. It might sneak in through the back door that you're perhaps not aware of, but you might have something going on around being good enough, thinking that you deserve, struggling to think that you deserve what you want, happiness, all this kind of stuff. I can tell you, having personally worked closely with hundreds of men and had deep conversations with many thousands more, regardless of what the issue is that we're facing on the surface, what you're experiencing on the surface of your life. Worthiness is often the culprit deep down beneath the surface at the foundations. It pulls the strings at a level that often goes unseen. Apart from you just experiencing the same frustrating shit in your life, it's in the self-sabotage, it's in the endlessly not doing the things that you know you should do, or perhaps that you want to do, right? All of that mess. It's in the fear of failure. It's in the fear of success. It's in the defensiveness in relationships. It's in the dislike in being wrong, the need to be right. It's everywhere. And when we keep playing and living life on the surface, reacting to all the symptomatic surface level things in our lives, we will have a surface level life. Yet all of these men that I have worked with and spoken to want lives of depth. If you are watching this, I suspect that you want a life of depth in your relationships, depth in adventure, depth of meaning, of clarity, of direction, of purpose, deep fulfillment. And if you want that, if you want depth, you have to go to your depths and address all the shit that lives there. And so in the Everyday Legends Academy, that is what we do. We support and guide men in going to and understanding your depths so that you can move past what has you stuck in your past beliefs and patterns and step into what is possible for your present and future. Often, despite your current limited view of yourself or what's going on for you, right? What you think is possible for you. Now, spending time down there in your depths, right? It can seem daunting. It could seem confronting, challenging, wholly uncomfortable before you do it, understandably. That's how this stuff works. Change requires confrontation. We have to meet ourselves and confront all the shit that we don't necessarily want to confront. Right? Exploring the stuff that you keep tucked away in a dark closet can feel terrifying. It can feel very uneasy, like, rather not thanks, right? But what we keep in the dark will run our lives from those shadows. And we will continue to feign ignorance, let's say, like we don't know where the light switch is. But it holds all the power in the dark. Like if you think about a kind of scary, maniacal clown that laughs and sounds scary as shit. Now, and that lives in your house. An easy thing would be to turn the light off, leave the door, and just don't fucking address that clown in that room. Just don't go in that room. And you feign ignorance. Try and convince yourself that it's not there. Try and trick yourself into believing that room's not there, that it's not needed. But it is part of you. It holds power in the dark. But when I walk in and switch the light on, I can see it. Okay, it dissipates a little bit. That's still scary, but it's not as scary as when it was in the dark, right? And so the power it holds, that part of me, it dissipates, right? Things come into focus. I can actually go, all right, well, this is some scary ass shit, but maybe this dude needs a goddamn conversation. I mean, he's not as scary as he was in the dark, right? It's not as scary as I've made it out to be. And I can probably handle a conversation with this part of myself. And if I don't know how, maybe I can bring in some other people who know how to talk to clowns and know how to bring them down off that scary maniacal edge and put that fucking knife down or whatever it might be. Sure, right? It might not be alone, but it shows us the way. It points us where we need to work and we can get to work. You are capable of exploring those parts of yourself. And if you need support around it, of course, it's a very wise decision as well. But you can do the work and you must do that work if you are to take control of your life and your worthiness and the story that you have about your worth, about, enoughness. And if you are to step into what's available to you, the voice of insecurity, right? That thing, that's where the work must go. And so on a group coaching call inside the Everyday Legends Academy recently, one of the guys dropped a real doozy of a question on this exact topic. And it was a good one. So I'm going to take you through it and how we addressed it and what the solution and the path is for that guy, which might very well be exactly where you're at. He said, for the longest time, I didn't believe I was good enough. I didn't believe I was worthy of love and belonging. It was the soundtrack to so much of my life. Now, that might not be as strong for you. It might be there. Tune in to where we go with this. He continues. Now, through the work that we've been doing in ELA, I get it intellectually. I am good enough. I deserve and am worthy of love. Yet, I don't seem to believe it yet, right? How do I take it from an intellectual understanding to truly believing it? Okay, so you can see, right, he's got the intellectual part. Okay, I get it. I get it. Now, you might not get the intellectual part first, yet that's okay. He gets it. How do I believe it? So, first of all, for me, let's acknowledge that there's so much immense progress indicated in even asking that question. For me, I'm like, fucking win. We can continue on to this, but let's acknowledge that and give yourself a pat on the back and honor the growth. Now, for brevity, we're going to skip through how he got to the point of being able to understand it intellectually. That is, in essence, via the type of teaching and coaching and support and guidance we do in ELA. And if you want in on that, then reach out and we can explore what coaching in ELA looks like. But suffice it to say, we get the guys there. That's step one. Intellectually believing that they are deserving and worthy of love and belonging, despite what they've done in the world, despite how they show up, despite the value they bring to their life, to situations, to relationships. We are worthy of love and belonging. That's step one. Step two is wrapped up in his question. And this is a common piece, right? I can see the thing here. It makes sense. I can understand it now, but I struggle to believe it or embody the actions relevant to it, to allow myself to believe it is often the piece, right? And you might have had this in this area or perhaps elsewhere in your life, right? You get it, but you don't really get it. You struggle to fully believe it, right? You get that your partner loves you, but you struggle to feel it. You understand, sure, but I don't really feel it. Or perhaps that you don't feel that you're worthy of it to the same point. Maybe that you get that you're good at your job, but you still struggle to believe that you're not an imposter in it, right? The issue here is the underlying belief system, and that's where the work is. That's the big beacon pointing you. Go dig here, excavate, explore. So, what you first must understand is that a foundational belief system in the realm of I don't think I deserve, right? I don't believe I'm good enough. I don't believe I'm worthy of love and belonging or success or happiness or whatever it is, it will not only infiltrate everything in your life, it bleeds, but the longer it goes on, like decades, often in the case of something like this, the longer it takes to turn around, right? So he's just getting it intellectually. It is not going to fully turn around and him believe this in his bones in an instant. So an analogy I want to play out for you is this. This is analogy number one. I want you to think of one of those massively giant super tankers, right? So there are super tankers that ship other super tankers. Now, the reason I'm making it so bold and big is because you can imagine that there's a lot of momentum when one of those is going, when it is at cruising speed, let's say. And if we go, you know what, I can see that we're going in the wrong direction and I want to turn it around 180, sure, it's doable, but not in an instant. You can't just flick that thing around. It takes time, it takes energy. And there are often a lot of people invested in the current course that don't like the idea of a turnaround. This is you and your beliefs, whatever the beliefs are. But when it comes to worthiness, which is such a foundational piece of you, and all the behaviors that that worthiness belief is responsible for, because a belief like that will create so many behaviors in your life, and you'll see them and go, why do I do that thing? Because of how you believe about yourself, right? This is that. And so you're not just dealing with your beliefs, but also the ideas and wishes and beliefs of those around you who aren't necessarily keen on change, right? On turning the ship around. They like you being in the box that they've put you in, or perhaps that you've put yourself in, and then they are quite okay with. Now, you might be aware of the issue, right? Like, oh, should I get it intellectually that we need to be going in another direction? This direction is taking me towards an iceberg, let's say, but it's taking time and energy to stop the momentum of this thing. Of course it will, right? It will, absolutely. So allow yourself that grace. Huge beliefs about yourself that have decades of repetition, of repetition, of repetition, right? Ingrained behaviors that will take time to turn around. Be patient, be persistent, keep your eye on the prize, right? Whatever that prize is for you. But let's say, for example, in this area, it is believing deep in your bones that you are worthy of love and belonging and joy and a dope fucking life, right? If that's the prize, keep your eye on it, even though you might not believe it yet. And being the embodiment of that in your behaviors. Right. And this was lesson and analogy number one for the guys that were on this call with me. Choose and persist with high self-worth behaviors, even if you struggle to believe it, so that you can start to build evidence to contrast your old beliefs. You give yourself something else to start believing across time. This needs repetition, right? So don't feel, as an example, that you're worthy of a fit, healthy, strong body. Okay, well, what, know that you need to exercise, but don't believe it. Well, first of all, commit to moving your body regularly and eating well, despite this, all the shit going on in your head. Tell yourself that you are committed to the actions purely as an experiment to see what might happen. Practice letting go of attachment to the outcome or your worth, right? What that might mean about you, and simply bring accountability to the actions by sharing them with people who can hold you to them, and then execute. Run it as an experiment. It's part. That is one small part of this puzzle. And to be clear, there are many parts to this. We are covering some basics on this video, right? So, then what? Well, this is the tricky part. Now, what often happens at this point is that we want to rid ourselves of the old belief about not being good enough. We want to rid ourselves of that part of ourselves, or whatever the belief or the actions or the behaviors are, right? I want to rid myself of that and that part of me. But this can't happen, not really. Because the thing with growth, with healing, if you want to call it that, is we often engage in it, and I've seen this so many times with the men that I've worked with, especially nice guys, is that we often engage in it to become better, but to become better in rejection of the part of ourselves that we don't like, right? We want to grow away from part of ourselves, become better over here as a distraction almost, right? A distraction for others and ourselves, right? To counter those parts that we don't like. But that is still self-rejection, and self-rejection won't take you to a place of self-respect and self-worth. Men of high self-worth, men who believe they are worthy of love and belonging and joy and success and a great life, do not practice self-rejection, do not live in self-rejection. It's counter to the belief. Real growth, real evolution starts with accepting yourself, with accepting the parts of yourself that you have found hard to love and accept, and loving the aspects of yourself that you have found hard to love. Now, sure, there might be aspects of you that you aren't happy about, that you want to improve. You want to put down and leave behind certain behaviors, reactivity, defensiveness, quick to anger, whatever those things are. But you can't be in rejection of yourself, right? It's called self-acceptance and being a work in progress. I can accept all of me and choose to leave some behaviors behind. This is an important distinction. And so, into lesson and analogy number two. Where I took the guys was the below. For the longest time, this belief system, this way of seeing yourself and your place in the world around your worthiness and what you deserve and so on, right? And how you've moved through life as a result, it's been like driving a bus, right? The bus that is your life. Now, the aim when we try and grow over here in contrast and just away from that is like saying, I want to kick that part of me off the bus. I want to reject that part of me. But it's entirely counterproductive to the idea of feeling and the practicality of feeling like you belong, that you are loved, because you are saying, not that part of me. Self rejection. No, thank you. Instead, the aim is to reassure that part of yourself that he doesn't need to drive the bus anymore. Your task in growth and maturity and maturation is to take the wheel. As a sovereign adult, it is your job to drive the bus, even though there's parts of you on there that in the past have not driven you to an effective place and can't really drive the bus. It is inappropriate for them to drive the bus anymore. You're a goddamn adult. That 14-year-old part of yourself, for example, doesn't need to drive the bus anymore. If there is an insecure kid on the bus who really just needs to be loved, who needs to know that they are enough, who needs to know that they belong, right? Despite how shit some of their behaviors might have been on occasion, a mature, responsible steward doesn't kick that kid off the bus or tell him he's not wanted, especially given that that might have been the theme tune to the creation of him in the first place. You certainly don't let him drive the bus, but you don't kick him off. You give him a comfy seat at the back of the bus. You tell him, you know what, I've got this now. You needn't white knuckle the steering wheel. I'm here now. I can steer the bus. Sit down. Let that part of you feel loved and welcome. Some of his behaviors aren't welcome, but he is welcome. It's this crucial distinction. Let him have a seat. Let him relax. Let him be a kid. Like play, put your goddamn iPod on, right? Put your music on. Listen to some music. The driving is over. You're now a passenger. You get to be here. You are welcome. But from now on, I drive the bus. Now, in this analogy, taking the wheel and driving the bus means taking actions in your life that take you where you want to go, right? Embodying the actions of a man who believes he is worthy of love and belonging, or embodying the actions of the man who needs to drive the bus. Even if you still can't see the whole route, even if you can't see or entirely believe that the route will get you there, to drive the bus is to action high self-worth behaviors because they are the road upon which you get to the destination. As you drive the bus, you become more competent at driving the bus. Such a crucial piece of the puzzle. As you drive the bus, you might not know the path, you might not believe yet that it takes you there, but as you drive the bus, you get closer and you become more competent at driving the bus. You build evidence that the action of driving moves you forward. And in doing so, you start to believe in the actions and the journey as a whole. The more you do this, the more you assure the little boy now sitting in the back who believed otherwise that you have got the shit, that you are okay, right? He can he doesn't need to live in fear anymore. He can trust. He didn't try and control things because he's terrified. Right, I'm going to try and control things here by taking the wheel and driving you off a fucking cliff. Or said differently, you can trust yourself. Trust that you are enough. Trust that you are worthy of love and belonging. Trust that you are good enough. That you deserve the life that you want. That you deserve to drive the bus and take it to a great place. Don't try and throw that part of you off the bus. Remind yourself that all of you is welcome. Just it doesn't get to drive anymore. Because that part of you has probably, on some level, believed that it wasn't worthy of love and belonging, that it didn't belong, that it was, not the same, that it rejection, all these things. So it needs loved on, not more rejection. Your job, take the wheel, take the actions of a bus driver, set direction, choose a path that takes you where you want to go, and act as if you believe you have the worth. And go. Trust in the journey, be patient, be persistent, and watch what happens over time. Drive the bus. Focus on driving the bus. Focus on getting better at driving the bus and watch your competence and belief grow. That's the turning around of that super tanker. Now, there certainly is a lot more to it. There will always be specifics for an individual. As I said earlier, the work to get to intellectually understanding that you're worthy of love and belonging, that you are good enough, that's part one, a huge part of the work that we do in ELA. And if you want to explore that for yourself, hit the link below, check it out, apply, explore, see what's there for you. Otherwise, if you're a nice guy and you found your way here wanting to build self-worth, wanting to believe and understand that you're good enough and figure this out, you might want to start by simply diving into the free Nice Guy action plan that we have. So comment below that you want that action plan, and we will get that out to you. That's today's lesson. Let me know in the comments how this lands for you and where you still get stuck in believing that you are good enough or believing that you are not good enough, and how this shows up in your behaviors. Because I suspect when you say these are the behaviors that I do, we can probably point to where these go in terms of the beliefs that you hold about yourself at that fundamental foundational level, because that shit has to change. If that shit don't change, doesn't matter what you do to the facade and the windows of the building, if that shit is rotting at the foundation, that's where the work is. All right. Till next time, build that unshakable, unfuckwithable foundation.